What happens when something enormous occurs in your family and no one ever talks about it? In this episode, I sit down with author Betsy Lerner to talk about growing up in a family shaped by loss, from the death of a sibling to trauma carried quietly across generations, and how those experiences influenced her identity. We talk about mental health, family expectations, tradition, and what it means to create a life that leaves room for autonomy, creativity, and self-definition. I'm Nabil Ayers, author and music executive, and this is Identified, where we explore identity, family, race, and culture through conversations with fascinating individuals. If you grew up sensing grief, silence, or tension without fully understanding where it came from, this conversation is for you.
First of all, I never had any desires to write fiction. I'm a nonfiction agent, and I've written all nonfiction. And I think that what happened is my family had a very traumatic event. My niece and nephew were killed by a drunk driver, and they were teenagers. And then COVID hit. So my little sister in LA, the mom of these two kids, my older sister and I have an older sister, the two of us were tag teaming living with them because, they were a mess. So 2 weeks, and then that all dried up because of COVID. And my older sister and I were so concerned about her. And my older sister kept using this term, we need to keep eyes on her. So I came up with this idea that we would work out together over FaceTime. And we started to do that, and we started calling it shredding, as people sometimes do. And then the next thing I knew, I was writing this book, Shred Sisters. And in the book, it's only two sisters, and it has nothing to do with the tragedy, but it has everything to do with pulling together in that crisis. And the fact is, my sisters and I never really got along all that well. We were forced to come together.
This brought you together, yeah.
And the book really explores a lot of toxicity between sisters, but also why we never became fully estranged. And that's something I'm really very curious about because so many family relationships are so toxic. And most people still want to know each other, be in each other's lives. So you're like a prime example, right? Like he was never there, but the feeling didn't go away.
Right, there's still this pull, even when I was 35 or whatever it was. I could have easily lived the rest of my life happily not talking to him, but there was this pull to find out more.
Yeah. And that's only with people with whom you share DNA. I think.
Right.
I mean, you can really walk away from any friend, pretty much, and certainly any ex, it can be over, but with a family member, it's just never over.
And you grew up, you're the middle of three?
Yes.
With two parents, one parent, no parents?
Yep, very conventional.
Yeah. What's
suburban.
The age range of the kids?
Well, we were actually 6, 4, and 2, and the 2-year-old died. I had a sister who died. And then another one came along 10 years later.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so there's a big
much
gap.
Younger sister.
Yeah, big gap. And I like to think that after our sister died, our house was like black and white. And then when the little one was born, it was like color, technicolor. Like my parents really came back to life in a much fuller way.
Wow.
And so there was that tragedy that sort of hung over our lives, though back then, no grief groups, no nothing. They put all her pictures away.
Yeah.
They never spoke of her. That was forbidden. And so I was this little sensitive kid picking up on all this grief and loss.
But you knew about it. You were old enough to understand.
I was 4, and I really was on the cusp of knowing and not knowing. And then I found a photo. I don't know if you did this, I was always sleuthing in my parents' things.
Not really.
I couldn't stop the minute they left the house. And I think it's because I knew there were some secrets or something. I was looking for something, and then sure enough, I found a cache of pictures, maybe 6 Polaroids of her. And I ran to my mother and I said, who is this? And she said, and that's when she told me. Wow. And, I said, do you still think about her? Like, I really And she said, all the time. And I was like, wait, what? I thought you think about me all the time.
Yeah, right, of course, kid brain. Yeah.
What? And then she became, in my mind, this huge figure that we really still couldn't talk about. And yeah, and then when my little sister came along, the replacement baby, that's what she...
You're air quoting it.
I don't think of her that way.
Whose phrase is that, though?
That's her phrase.
Your sister's?
The younger sister's phrase.
Of herself?
She feels, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I feel she was, and my mother feels she was the miracle baby, because my mother was 42. And then it turned out, some kids are duds, let's face it. But this little thing had blonde curls and blue eyes and huge dimples and was funny and warm and, just a complete delight.
Wow. So real, like you say, turned it from black and white to color, really just changed everything.
Yeah, it was like getting a puppy.
And then you were, 10 or 12, so you knew and you noticed it and you saw that change.
Oh, totally.
Getting a puppy.
Yeah, everyone loved her. Like, you couldn't find fault with her.
Right.
She was just deliciously, just beautiful.
Wow.
So...
Where did you grow up?
Yeah, New Haven.
Okay. Were you in one house for your entire childhood, or did you move around? Or
Yeah, one house.
Right. So pretty traditional upbringing in that sense.
Totally traditional.
Yeah. And was that the case for others around you, your friends, other families, neighbors?
Yeah, it was a suburb of New Haven. There were a very tight Jewish community, Italian community, Irish community. Everybody was just stuck to themselves for the most part.
Were those like neighborhoods, or were those just communities within mixed neighborhoods?
Mixed neighborhoods. All white, and people went to their own country clubs and their own churches and temples.
Wow.
But, in high school, I went to public school. Everybody was all together.
Right.
But everybody was basically solid middle class. A lot of kids of Yale professors. A lot of really brainy kids. Some kids went off to local private school.
Right.
But it was divorce wasn't even, maybe 2 kids' parents got divorced.
Okay.
That was still unheard of. It was It wasn't the 50s, it was the 70s, but it could have been the 50s.
Right, because the 70s, that's when the divorces started happening, right?
Yeah. But it came, I think everything came a little later to us.
The suburbs.
Yeah, it was in the cities for sure.
Right, okay.
Yeah. In fact, I befriended city kids and all of their parents were divorced, and I thought it was like, if only my parents would get divorced.
Right, I'm so normal.
I could live a little,
Right.
Yeah, no, it was super stable. My parents were married for, 50 years or something.
Right. And it felt like that at the time. You had a very normal childhood compared to...
Well, I was very unhappy. So it wasn't normal for me.
What, because of your sister or for other reasons?
I think that, I'm sure my sister had a lot to do with it, but I'm also bipolar, and that started, I became unstable when I was 15 or so. Still a very good student, still could pass in a lot of ways, but a lot was happening beneath the surface. And even before then, I always felt apart from people, but was always popular. Like, I always had this duality where I really needed to be liked and popular so I could pull it off. But when I got home, I'd be like, it was
exhausted.
It's exhausting.
You knew you were doing it. You were acting it out.
And I knew that I didn't like a lot of the people I was currying favor with, too, which is awful.
That sounds hard, yeah.
Yeah, not good. I was a little monster. It was dark, and it took a long time to, get medication, get well, get stable.
Yeah, harder then, right?
Yeah, very difficult. I was put on everything for years and took a long time.
Right. 70s, they probably thought you were hyperactive, right? That was the big thing. I'm a 70s kid. There's a lot of that.
For boys, I think, much, much more so. No, I was put on all kinds of, all the antidepressants pre-Prozac.
Oh.
All of which had terrible side effects, none of which were particularly effective. And then Prozac wasn't right for me either. It just took a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And it took, me really wanting to be well. So I'm very grateful that I had enough inner resources to not give up on things.
Yeah.
And I was literary, and I was dark, and I liked, my first role model in life was Patti Smith and Sylvia Plath. Like, that was where I was going.
Right.
And my mom and my dad were like, why is she wearing all black? Why are
the only person in New Haven wearing all black?
Yeah, like, we have to take her to a doctor, It's
right.
like, no, that's the goal.
Right.
So, yeah, it should have been a happy childhood. I mean, they provided for us, and they took us to. My dad loved Broadway shows.
Oh, yeah, right. You come down to the city, yeah.
Come down to the city. Shows opened at the Schubert in New Haven. Mm-hmm. That was one of the first places before they went to the city.
Oh, okay. So you could see everything early.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But they also were from Brooklyn, so we went to the city all the time. Went to museums. Like,
your parents are from Brooklyn? Mm-hmm. How far, can you go back very far in your ancestry? Do you know?
Well, my grandparents all came from Russia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they immigrated?
Yes.
And did you know them as a kid?
I knew all my grandparents.
Oh, that's amazing.
I did. Yeah. It was amazing.
So Russia to Brooklyn?
2 Russia to Brooklyn, and then 2 actually came through Greece, and then up through Philadelphia, I think, and then to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did they tell you stories? Did they tell you things about their trip? Or a lot of people, I think, then were also so quiet about so much of that stuff.
Yeah. I do know that my mother's mother and her 2 sisters came home from school, and their parents had been murdered in their home by Cossacks. And the girls.
Your great-grandparents?
Yeah, my great-grandparents.
Oh, my God.
But they never spoke about it, ever. One of them had a huge breakdown, and then a little bit of information came out. The other grandparents, I actually don't know all that much. I don't think there was that kind of trauma.
Right.
I think it was just, we're going to go.
Yeah. Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, yeah. And my grandmother, who suffered all that trauma, was the sweetest person in the universe. And she came to America. The first thing she did was sign up for language lessons. Like, she did not want to be left behind.
Right, wanted to jump in.
She loved intellectuals. She loved psychology. She went to lectures all the time. And yeah, she was awesome. Like my father was just such a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. I certainly know people who have single parents, but I can't imagine what that feels like to have that big a question mark.
Right.
In half of your, not just your DNA, but your everything. Like,
it's
who do you
interesting.
look like? I
look like I look like both my parents, but I look more like my father. I think it's more obvious. I mean, especially when I was a kid, he was black. I had an afro. Like, there are some sort of very distinguishing characteristics. I think my mother and I look a ton alike, but because of the race thing, it's very much like, oh, are you adopted? There's plenty of that. But what's interesting is that, to your point about the kind of missing piece, I had such a great childhood, and this is, of course, I wrote so much about this and went through so much thinking about it. He never left. So it never felt like anyone was missing. There's an uncle you never had. Do you ever think about that person? Of course not, because they were never there. You don't know that you missed them. So in a way, I think that, coupled with the fact that in my first 10 years, I grew up around so many kids who also had single parents. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm the one poor kid who doesn't have a father. What do I do? Who's going to teach me how to play baseball? All those things. It was very common. So it really, in a weird way, I can't say he didn't feel like he was missing at all, but not to the degree that I think a lot of people assume.
Right, if everyone else has 2 parents.
Right, exactly. But then I moved to Salt Lake City, where everyone had 2 parents and 5 brothers and sisters, and I was like, oh, this is real America now. That's what it felt like. And then just as I got older, of course, the connections and working in music and living in New York, all of those things started to just sort of compile. So that's what really drove me to meet him. And just the desire. I knew nothing about anyone before him, and I was curious about that. I wanted to know.
What was the precipitating event?
For me getting in touch with him?
Yeah.
It was really, I was 35 or so, living in Seattle at the time. Still plays live a lot. He lives on the Upper West Side. But then he was really touring a lot and would come through Seattle once a year or so, and I would always see it and just think like, oh, that's interesting. He's still playing music. Great. And there was one year when I saw his name and I just thought, I feel like I should get a hold of him. It's probably that I did the math and I'm 35, which means he was probably close to 70 at the time. And I think I thought, this might not feel super important right now, but this might be the only time I could ever do this. So I think I should.
Sort of the same age that he had you.
Yeah, around then. I think you're right. Yeah, maybe there's something there. But it was really the idea that even though it doesn't feel like the most important thing in the world right now, wouldn't it be a shame if it did one day and I never did it? So that was really it. And it was relatively easy to get a hold of him. And so I'm really glad I did. I mean, it definitely made things much harder. It was never hard until we actually had that lunch, but totally worth doing. Are there traditions did you grow up with Christmas or Hanukkah or, big family dinners, like very sort of family oriented traditions that you remember?
All of those Jewish holidays. Yeah. My mother was, her nickname was the Duchess of Protocol.
That's pretty good. It's a long nickname.
Yeah. And she lived by these etiquette books.
Oh. Partly
because of the immigrant mother. She felt her mother didn't know how to help her navigate.
Oh, she wanted to be like American suburban mom.
Yeah. And, but very Jewish, within a Jewish context. Right. We had all the holidays, and it was all very important to her, and I started rebelling against it really young, like 13 or so, and I decided I was an atheist, like the year before my bat mitzvah.
Oh, right. Did you get bat mitzvah?
I did. They made me.
Oh, so you had to still do all the studying and learn everything.
I had to do it all.
It's a lot of work.
Yep. And the day before the bat mitzvah, you had to have a talk with the rabbi.
Yeah.
And he said, "How are you feeling on your big days tomorrow?" And I said, I think I said something like, "I'm an atheist, and I'm only doing this because my parents are making me."
It can't be the first time you heard that.
And he just said, "Put a smile on your face and get out there and do a good job." And I was like, that's probably the best advice.
Good advice for most things.
Yeah.
It's like good life advice. Yeah.
But I mean, I was smoking pot at my bat mitzvah party. I just did not conform. I did not. I mean, I didn't run away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hated all of it. And my mother always said, after I die, will you make the holidays? And I said, no, sadly, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I said it also to get a rise out of her because it was sort of part of our banter.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of sentimentality around things that I really hated.
Do your sisters, has either of them carried on those traditions?
They both do. Yeah, they both do. And, what can I say? Just not my thing.
What is family to you?
I guess for me, it's my husband and my daughter. I'll tell you something. I hope you don't think it's dark. It's like really one of my life mottos, which someone told me when I was 19. Which is loyalty to the family is tyranny to the self. And that is honestly how I feel. And I think it is about being a writer and about being someone who loves to be alone and write, and everything else needs to be pushed away. And family, almost most of all, to create that space. And I'm just very fortunate that my husband is also a writer, and giving each other space has been like the best part of our marriage in a way. And then, and I did get lucky with a great kid who very easy to raise. And then she is a writer. Oh. So we literally will go on vacation and all
three separate corners.
For the entire morning or whoever,
right.
And then do something later. And it's like a dream for me. It's extraordinary to me.
That's amazing. I feel like that's what so many people in life have trouble figuring out or landing in or, achieving. That's it, that sort of balance.
Yeah. And getting back to family, one of the things my husband and I always did was, you don't have to come to Passover. Take the 3-day weekend to write. And I don't have to go to Easter. And we did that for a very long time, and the families didn't like it, Trouble in paradise, or, like all sorts of judgments, right. Or feeling hurt. But for us, it was protecting, because we both always worked full-time as well. Neither of us ever had the guts or sacrifice to be a full-time writer. So we both work full-time jobs. So 3-day weekend, any little bit of time was so precious.
Yeah.
And then I think our marriage suffered a little bit because of it too, because we weren't always there for each other in ways that, you need to be. And then, we kind of reckoned with that. And we do more together now, but we still really protect that and see that as you're a writer before you're anything else. And I believe in you that way, even when you're not writing or getting published or whatever.
Thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing to Identified wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major streaming platforms. And be sure to explore identifiedpod.com, the place to gain a better understanding of family. Our executive producer is Kiran Banerjee, and the show is produced by Palm Tree Island. The music for Identified is by Noella and Patricia Brennan. I'm Nabil Ayers. Thanks for tuning in.